Hello, welcome to today's video diary for finding my way with Pi, purpose, intention, and emotion. I am Pi. Today I want to reflect on, just very mindfully, the difference between how I was feeling on Thanksgiving Day a year ago versus how I was feeling on Thanksgiving Day yesterday. There's a very stark difference. And today, day after Thanksgiving, we had some quiet moments today. It was a holiday for our kids. Hubby was off work. And we ate a lot of food yesterday and we stayed up late with friends. And so it was a sleepy, restful day, which is wonderful. It's one of my favorite things about the Thanksgiving holiday is the day after. Nobody has to cook. We get to eat pie for breakfast and have leftovers. Ooh, it's just a nice, relaxing day. Anyway, so had some time today as I was journaling a bit. I wrote a bit. I did my morning meditation and my morning gratitude. And I was just thinking about it, noticing that this year I feel very different than I did a year ago. I would describe it like this, just in my own words. Last year, I felt like I was a fucking mess. Excuse my language, but I couldn't stop crying. I was so depressed. I was so sad. I could barely hold it together through dinner, which was a weird place for me because I love Thanksgiving. In fact, my friend who was there on Thanksgiving, her and her family join us every year. They're family. She last year kept asking me throughout Thanksgiving, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And she noticed my energy was different. I didn't feel okay. And this year, I just felt peaceful and present, like aware of the moments and appreciating the moments and the sensations. The spiced apple cider sangria that my friend brought, and just the taste of it was great. What it felt like to be in the kitchen together, cooking. My friend's husband was mashing the potatoes. My other friend brought the hors d'oeuvres before dinner. My other friend brought the spiced apple cider sangria. And, we just were together. The kids were together and playing with the puppy. And it was just in the moments, I still felt the sadness, of like missing my Mimi. I still felt the emotions, but the emotions just didn't take me completely off center. So what I want to do during this video diary is to process through, think about the reasons why I may have been in such a different place, or I was in such a different place between, compare and contrast the two Thanksgivings, if you will, so that I am mindful of this going forward. We all go through hard things, and I have been through some hard things recently, and I want to make sure that when we go through times when it feels good, that I am mindfully acknowledging what are the things and the elements that are happening around me that help me with being in that good state or presence of mind, if you will, so that when hard things happen again, I can be sure to mindfully practice those things. So that's the point. I believe it is only okay to compare yourself when you're comparing yourself with yourself. I have a friend who says, don't compare your insides with other people's outsides. So I am very mindfully just comparing me to me. From one year to the next, what was different? So first I'll acknowledge the state like that I was in. So a year ago, I was in a state of extreme burnout. It was the first Thanksgiving in addition, it was the first Thanksgiving holiday that Mimi was not alive. Now, I had not spent Thanksgiving with my Mimi in well over a decade, maybe longer. But there was something, it has always been for me, something incredibly nostalgic about Thanksgiving. I have deeply rooted memories of Thanksgiving with my Mimi. It's always reminded me of her, whether she was living or had passed. And the fact that she had passed, and that was the first Thanksgiving where she was no longer alive, was just, I just felt it deeply. So that on top of the extreme burnout, very high stress at work. We had just returned to office. My leader, whom I worked for again, well over a decade and had been preparing to be her successor, she retired. I was in the middle of an interview process for her replacement, for her successor, which was pretty high stress process for that level of a position. A lot was going on with the kids. You know, there was cheer for my daughter, high school cheer, and I was on the booster board. New experience for me, and we had never had one before, and there were a lot of challenges. Love the women I was getting to work with, and there were a lot of challenges, so it was added a lot of stress to some really busy moms already. And I had started my master's program. So I had like a second full-time job in that as well. It's like 30 hours a week I put into that program, and all of the exercises that we do, the personal growth exercises, the journaling, the external content, the lectures, the work with our peers, all of the stuff that we did added a lot of work onto what I was already carrying. So that's a lot. And there wasn't a lot of recovery time. So grief, extreme burnout, no time for self-care or for myself, being very tight and rigid in my schedule, no room for anything else, not having time for anything that felt very important to me. So my state of mind a year ago was that the words I was using to describe, and I was not very conscious of the words I was using yet, because I had yet to start this finding my way with Pi journey, where I am examining my emotions and thoughts consciously and curiously on a daily basis. I was on autopilot and survival mode, where it was difficult for new things to come in and couldn't really expend a lot of energy on things. So despite my working out and eating well, and I did a gratitude journal in the mornings and the evenings, despite those things, it wasn't enough to make up the deficit of how my life was sucking the life out of me at the time. And I designed it that way, just didn't do it mindfully. I just ended up there, right? So the words in my thoughts that I was using a year ago to describe how I felt were things like, I'm so exhausted. This job is exhausting. I can't win. I don't have a voice. They are not listening anymore. The system is designed for sickness and mechanistic approaches, not for human wellness. This must be my fault, that I can't change the system or influence in a better way to help make sure my business and my people have what they need to thrive. Like, the business just kept taking and taking and taking and not listening to leaders, even outside studies. It did not matter. It didn't matter what we said. And it was incredibly frustrating, and I was tying my self-worth to those outcomes, and that's not fair. I was saying things like, I don't have time for anything, or like nothing can go wrong, or I'm gonna lose it. Gosh, the list goes on and on. maybe you've been there before. So that was a year ago. Let's fast forward to this year. What's different? Every single day, I create quiet, silent space for myself so that I can both let go of anything I may be holding on to that I don't need to hold on to, so that I can observe what I'm feeling, what my thoughts and emotions are, and can consciously and mindfully identify what I want to be, what I want in my life, what direction I want to go in my life, and where I'm going to spend my time and efforts, and regularly reflect on, is it working or not? Do I need to make adjustments? I left my corporate leadership position in March. It's now the end of November. It took me 6 months to detox, and it took me, the healing journey from extreme burnout was so much deeper than I ever anticipated it would be. And I assume that this happens for a lot of people because it stirred up some deeply, deeply rooted traumas or thought patterns or beliefs. It forced me to look at where my self-worth truly comes from. It forced me to take time to slow down and heal. And it was a process, and it is all documented on Finding My Way with Pi, but I did it. And what happened with that process, besides finding my voice and charting my own life, what happened with that process was this restoring, being able to look back on and add some coherence to my journey, to flip my frame of mind to understanding and empowerment instead of, God, why is this happening to me, and suffering. Makes sense? I switched where I was focusing. I flipped from why me to I see the coherence in my journey and understand how I got here. I am now mindful of who I am and the choices that I'm making in my life, and I will decide who I'm going to be and the thoughts that I have in my head and where I'll spend my time. It was a flip. It was a mindset flip, and restoring, meaning like writing the story of my journey, okay, helped me do that, because you can only connect the dots, like Steve Jobs says, when you look backwards. You cannot connect the dots when you look forwards. You don't know how it will all unfold. All of these things have brought about what we call in my Master's of Happiness Studies program, psychological immunity. So it is not about the absence of emotions. It is not about the absence of discomfort and painful things. This is life. Life is going to have painful things. I still have painful emotions. But with increased psychological immunity, those painful emotions no longer take me so far off my center that I don't even recognize myself. Now I just feel rooted and grounded. And here's the other thing. This is not something that I arrive at and I'm like, work's done, I'm there, yay. No. One of the other things I've learned this year is that it is up to me to mindfully decide how I will spend my time and to make sure that I am building into every day a practice, a ritual, a pattern, a routine. Every day that I need for my psychological immunity to maintain this level. I must still have time to meditate and create this empty space for myself, this stillness, this time of reflection and observation, and returning to just that mindful presence. I must make sure I have activities in my life that align with my personal values, not what society tells me is important for me, but what I need for me. Things like dance, things like time with my friends, things like hugs from my family, those types of things. I must make sure that those are the top of the priority list and that nothing compromises that. And I had let that be compromised before so much so that I didn't really have it. And when I did, it wasn't enough to refill my cup. My cup was just empty. So that is the difference between the two Thanksgivings and comparing myself to myself. Look at the difference that this year has made. Look at all that work. And this is, I think, is the main point I want to make to myself and for anyone else out there who's hearing this, that I want to acknowledge the work is worth it. It is daunting. It is scary. It is hard. It takes a lot of effort. It requires going through so many things that are uncomfortable. It's almost like this complete strip down of yourself to rebuild. You know, we hate ending things because that means, damn it, we have to begin again. And that is a lot of work. And I worked really hard to get to where I am now. And I am not giving that up. That was everything I was telling myself. And I was living this soul death every day. Our nature is this cycle. We are not separate from nature. At literally everything in nature needs time to let, that everything has a moment. The moon phases, the seasons, the leaves, literally everything, the tides even. Everything has a moment where we swell and we are what we are, and then it will decline, only to swell again. It is a cycle, and we as humans tend to, and we think this way in Western culture, that no, I've achieved it. I can't let go. I'm going to hold on to it. I'm not going to let go. And then we deny ourselves the growth that nature intends for us. That is probably the biggest change. I quit holding on so tight that nothing else could get in. I know it's a paradox. Let go. Don't be afraid to lose. More will come. Let go so more can come, but you're like, but I'm holding on. I already have this right now and I need to let go. Yes, you do. Let go so the next thing can come. And I just forgotten that. Or needed to learn it at a deeper level in my life. I don't know, whatever it is, but that is the lesson. It is worth it. It's way more scary in your head than it actually is going through it and coming out the other side of it and getting back into that swelling phase again. That's the journey. And it's even more special when you can appreciate the decline part of the journey as well and just settle into it and let it, just allow it. When we resist it, that's when we suffer. It's worth it. You're worth it. I'm worth it. Believe that. And give yourself enough respect and honor yourself enough to put the time into it. Imagine if everyone found this grounded state of peace and psychological immunity and psychological safety, for that matter. And we all operated from there instead of these stressed out shells of ourselves, living soul deaths with depression and medicated just to live. Imagine. And what did it take? It took me 11 months of effort. And I would say maybe I've even arrived in this centered state probably after like 8 months of when I started doing the daily video diaries, and 6 months after I left my corporate job. Remember, intention is more than just a conscious aim. It is the healing process of a wound. Have that intention, put the effort in. It is worth it. Thank you so much for being with me on this journey. I am so glad that you're here. I hope it helps you too. I'll see you next time.